It was just a matter of time before I was found out. The apple may not have fallen far from the tree, but I was certainly no lawyer. A name? I had to give her a name, or the jig was up, something she could hang her hat on. It's Vice, Vice, baby. It's Vice, Vice, baby.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. What's wrong with the light? Let's see. Let's do myself better now. Look at me. Haha. Oh, welcome. Hello, Danielle. How are ya? Welcome to another part, well, not another part, part two of live reading of Believe Evidence by Megan Fox, our dear friend. Last time we read the foreword, the introduction, and the first chapter, Eve. It's an interesting book so far. Um, and it's it's kind of amazing on how Megan Fox she really did like a deep dive and find all these examples of the overuse and the abuse of the hashtag Me Too movement in since pretty much the beginning of time, beginning of written history at least. Hello, Tracy. Hello, Daily Dysfunction and Sweet Fly. How are ya? Is that a new profile picture? Did I just notice that? Looks good. Anyway, I got my water. I got my book. I got some paper towels for my stuffy nose. This read might be a little rough, not gonna lie, 'cause Megan Fox likes to be all fancy and use big words. I'm doing good. Thanks for asking, Tracy. Yes, new pick, nice. So, you guys know the drill. I'll be reading each chapter and I'll probably do 2, 3 chapters. And in between chapters, I'll take a little break, catch up on chat, see what you guys are saying. But without further ado, let us continue with chapter 2, Athalia. Now, when Athalia, Isaiah's mother, saw that her son was dead, she set about to destroy all the royal family. But Yehosheba, King Yoram's daughter, Isaiah's sister, took Joash son of Isaiah and stole him away from among the king's children, who were about to be killed. She put him and his nurse in a bedroom. Thus she hid him from Athaliah, so that he was not killed. He remained with her 6 years, hidden in the house of the Lord, while Athaliah reigned over the land. Excuse me. Imagine the evil in the heart of a grandmother who could order the death to all her grandchildren in order to retain the power of the throne. This evil act of sacrificing children for a woman's advancement and power cannot be better illustrated in the modern times than what's happening behind Planned Parenthood doors. The description of the abhorrent practices of the pagans is laid out in plain terms in many places in the Old Testament. Child sacrifice is a well documented practice of ancient peoples. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Say further to the people of Israel, any of the people of Israel, or of the aliens who reside in Israel, who give any of their offspring to Molech, shall be put to death. The people of the land shall stone them to death. I myself will set my face against them, and will cut them off from the people, because they have given of their offspring to Molech, defiling my sanctuary and profaning my holy name. And if the people of the land should ever close their eyes to them, when they give of their offspring to Molech, and do not put them to death, I myself will set my face against them and against their family, and will cut them off from among their people. Them and all who follow them in prostituting themselves to Molech." The ancient Canaanites and other nations who practiced child sacrifice believed they could not be blessed by their gods without it. Killing infants wasn't their only vice, only one of many that included complete sexual liberation, including bestiality, incest, pedophilia, and any other sexual deviancy imaginable. None of these things are new, but always embraced by people who reject God's law as written by Moses. These days, you don't have to look far to find similar women killing their own children for their own selfish gain or sexual freedom. The Guttmacher Institute conducted a study in 2004 that found among the structured survey respondents, the two most common reasons were having a baby would dramatically change my life and I can't afford a baby now, cited by 74% and 73% respectively. Modern child sacrificers believe it's justified to kill a child for the advancement of the woman. In other words, if it keeps her from ruling over a kingdom, then send in the butchers. And so, like the ancient pagans, today's feminists cry out in a loud voice, "Kill them," even up to the moment of birth. In the state of New York, full term abortions are now legal, and in Virginia, a similar bill was narrowly defeated after its proponents were unwisely honest about it in front of cameras. The reason that Judge Kavanaugh has been slandered and defamed by hysterical women is because they fear one thing: losing their ability to kill their children. Abortion is a sacrament to the left as religious in meaning as the Eucharist is to Christians. Abortion is the act through which radical feminists retain their power and avoid sacrificing themselves for someone else. Instead, they put on the altar their own children so that they can have momentary relief from the inconvenience and trouble. It is also a political weapon with which they wield over women as a threat, promising poverty and death if their blood god is not appeased. They keep women in a state of false fear of back alley abortions that never happened in great numbers as claimed, and financial ruin. Contrary to the claims that women were dying en masse to the tune of 1,000 to 5,000 a year from illegal abortions. The CDC reported that in 1973, the same year as Roe v. Wade was decided, only 39 women died from illegal abortion. Perhaps not surprisingly, an almost equal amount also died from legal abortions the next year. But lying has never been an obstacle for the radical feminists. Alternatives to abortion, like adoption, are not even considered in the minds of the choice movement. Abortion is a major means of controlling a voting bloc through fear, and major means of controlling a voting blocks through fear and deceit. Lie about what it is, blob up cells, and when it is viable, 20 weeks, and what the complications can be, death or depression. Then threaten freedom itself while petting women's natural vanity and selfish human nature, and you have a recipe for a hot button issue with which to control masses of women. It is important to note that abortion is still extremely unpopular among a majority of Americans who favor more restrictions. But the hysterical harpies make all the waves. They will never give up abortion without a major fight, as we've seen. Their power is too important to them, and, like the ancient pagans, they believe they won't receive the blessings they're owed in life if they have to put their desires second to the desires of another. Is it any wonder the pro abortion left will rally behind any woman who fights against their major foe, a pro life Supreme Court justice, using whatever means necessary, including lies? Do not be fooled that any women's march is anything but a giant pro abortion march, masquerading as a parade of strong women protesting the president's supposed treatment of women. The march is full of hypocrites. Supposedly, based on locker room comments, said in jest to Billy Bush about how some women throw themselves at wealthy famous men and let them grab them by their nether regions. The Women's March claimed to be outraged at the mere mention of a man admitting to being very sexually active with willing women, while pretending he was talking about sexual assault. From that silly offhand and true comment about gold digging women, the rabid left put together national marches aimed at embarrassing the president of his remark in an unguarded moment. The irony here is, of course, that the same women who pretend to be affronted by the word pussy run around with depiction of vulvas on their heads, holding signs that say, "Grab this pussy." Feminists have, for years, encouraged everyone to get rid of old sexual morals and chase the big O at all costs. No marriage was sacred enough to save, no institution grand enough to withstand the sexual Pandora's box the feminists unleashed on us like a wrecking ball. Pretending now, after instituting sex ed that would make a hooker blush in kindergartens across America, that they are offended by a sexual active man using the word pussy, is just bonkers. These are the same people who dress up in giant vagina costumes and go out in public like they're perfectly normal. They host Sex Week on college campuses and hire porn stars to teach our freshman student how to use sex toys attached to power tools. No one is buying that this sex crazed feminist left got the vapors overhearing a guy talk about his sexual conquests. This is pure political posturing. Proving my point, these nasty women immediately took to the streets, wearing hoo haws on their heads, to protest the use of a word, pussy. Female genitalia, coincidentally, is heavily symbolic in pagan fertility worship. The parallels between the ancient child sacrificers and the modern ones are just keep appearing. And the modern ones just keep appearing. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of ancient pagan fertility goddesses depicted with over exaggerated vulvas and breasts, like Inanna, a Sumerian goddess, and Laja Guari, a Hindu goddess. The women's marchers are just an extension of the ancient fertility cults who partook in horrific acts for personal gain. If women are willing to kill their own children, is there any depravity too distasteful in which they won't participate? And that was chapter 2. Remember, Megan forgot that I was such a lesbian because. How's it going, slug? How's it going through Awesome Dogs? Welcome. Chapter 3. Jezebel. Has there ever been a more wicked woman than Jezebel? She, whose name lingers, used by feminists unironically on their ranting blogs, is known even to the irreligious. They have taken her name without realizing what they have done. For surely, in all the Bible, there is not a more infamous name than Jezebel, murderer and blasphemer, idolatress and prophet killer. She was so feared that the mighty Elijah himself, who could command bears to devour his enemies, ran and hid, rather than stick around waiting for the hell she promised to unleash on him. Jezebel was married to a weak king of Israel, Ahab. Ahab was a man who knew God, but followed his she-devil wife into worship of Baal. He allowed 2 of his sons to be sacrificed at her demand. Jezebel made it her business to kill prophets of God who would dare tell her that she was doing wrong and leading Israel to sin. Elijah hid 100 prophets from her in the desert and spent much of his time avoiding her wrath. What led to Jezebel's wrath? What led to Jezebel's rage was a hilarious incident between her prophets and Elijah. Elijah once mocked Jezebel's prophets of Baal in a ceremony where they put their gods to the test. While the pagans money nope, while the pagans were wailing and cutting themselves and crying to their deaf, dumb, and blind God to send fire to their altar, Elijah stood there and yelled insults at them, asking them if Baal was possibly on the toilet having a moment, or perhaps on vacation. After an exhausting effort, the pagans gave up. With one command, Elijah brought down the fire of heaven, which consumed even the water soaking the altar. Completely humiliated, the pagan prophets returned to Jezebel and whined about what Elijah did to them. The worst thing anyone can do to a pagan is laugh at them. They hate it so much, they want you dead. So began Jezebel's killing spree against the prophets of God who had owned her pagan priest on top of that mountain. If that spectacle had been broadcast today, it would be on the Comedy Network as a roast special. I often reference this story when Christian people chastise me for using ridicule against the pagan left. It is not true that God's people must always be quiet as church mice and accept the cultural rot we find ourselves stewing in. We are supposed to point out the absurdities of sin and death culture. And if we can do it with humor, so much the better. Jesus did it all the time. He had some of the sharpest comebacks ever. Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when there is the log in your eye? You hypocrite! First take the log out of your own eye, then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. That's funny and effective stuff. Ridicule works. The best weapon we have against the humorless left is to laugh at them. They hate it so. After Jezebel's prophets were mercilessly ridiculed by Elijah, she had ordered her soldiers to hunt down and kill him and the prophets of God. Meanwhile, King Ahab was worrying about gardening. He decided he wanted a vineyard next to his palace owned by a man named Naboth. Naboth refused to sell it to him because it was his family inheritance. The sullen king made a fine display of his unhappiness about the matter at home, sulking and pouting until Jezebel, exasperated, demanded to know what was wrong with him. Upon learning that his tantrums stemmed from his run with Naboth, Jezebel berated her husband for his stupidity and weakness. She challenged his manhood and his status as a king. Ahab was clearly a gamma male who had long before turned over his natural authority to his shrew wife. Jezebel insulted him for a while, as harpies do, and then told him to buck up and be happy because she was going to solve this problem for him as usual. What she did next is breathtaking in its wickedness. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal. She sent the letters to the elders and the nobles who lived with Naboth in his city. She wrote in the letters, proclaim a fast, and seat Naboth at the head of the assembly. Seat two scoundrels opposite him, and have them bring a charge against him, saying, you have cursed God and the king. Then take him out and stone him to death. The men of his city, the elders, and the nobles who live in the city, did as Jezebel had sent word to them, just as it was written in the letters that she had sent to them. They proclaimed the fast and seated Naboth at the head of the assembly. Two scoundrels came in and sat opposite him, and the scoundrels brought a charge against Naboth in the presence of the people, saying Naboth cursed God and the king. So they took him outside the city and stoned him to death. Then they sent to Jezebel, saying, Naboth has been stoned. He is dead. This murder siren actually fabricated evidence in order to have a man killed. And, just like a mob justice, there was no one to stand up and speak for him, to deny that was the accuser said. Instead, they took him out and killed him with nothing but public accusation. Shortly thereafter, Ahab took possession of the vineyard of the man his evil wife had set up for destruction. These two did not get away with their crimes. Ahab died in battle, and, as prophesied by Elijah, and dogs lapped up his blood. Jezebel's death is probably the most satisfying death of a devilish harpy ever written. When Jehu came to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it. She painted her eyes and adorned her head and looked out the window. As Jehu entered the gate, she said, "It is peace, Zimri, murderer of your master." He looked up to the window and said, "Who is on my side? Who?" 2 or 3 eunuchs looked out at him. He said, "Throw her down." So they threw her down. Some of her blood splattered on the wall and on the horses, which trampled on her. Then he went in and ate and drank. He said, "See to that cursed woman and bury her, for she is a king's daughter." But when they went to bury her, they found no more than the skull and the feet and the palm of her hands. Good riddance. The dogs devoured Jezebel before the men could bury her. It's just so fitting, an end to a treacherous woman with no regard for life or honor. It feels like justice, something we lack in modern society. Under our current system, it appears that women who come forward and accuse a man with false information and kill his reputation walk away unscathed and even more prosperous with book deals and GoFundMe accounts. I rather like the eaten by dogs ending myself, but maybe that's just me. Julie Swetnick, the lying harpy who accused Brett Kavanaugh of facilitating gang rapes by putting drugs in drinks, should at the very least be put in prison if we can't find dogs to eat her. Her story is so fake, not even the major news media that traffics in fake news can make it sound reasonable. In her first interview, she contradicted her written statement and had to admit that she didn't know if Kavanaugh was drugging anyone or standing in line to rape anyone, but he was handing out solo cups, and that's basically the same thing. During the years of 1981 to 82, I became aware of efforts by Mark Judge, Brett Kavanaugh, and others to spike the punch at house parties I attended with drugs and or grain alcohol so as to cause girls to lose their inhibitions and their ability to say no. She wrote in her legal statement under penalty of perjury. Shortly into her interview with NBC, Swetnick changed the story to saying she had witnessed Kavanaugh handing out cups to girls. "Did you see Brett Kavanaugh spiking the punch?" asked the NBC interviewer. "I saw him giving red solo cups to quite a few girls during that time frame. And there was a green punch at those parties, and I would not take one of those glasses from Bart Kavanaugh. I mean, Brett Kavanaugh, excuse me," replied the lying liar. "I saw him around the punch containers. I don't know what he did." Swetnick continued, licking her lips nervously with a forked tongue. NBC opened the interview saying, "There are things Swetnick told us on camera that differ from a written statement last week. We have been trying independently to reach out to anyone who remembers attending parties with Julie Swetnick and Brett Kavanaugh. So far, we've not found anyone who remembers that." Irresponsible reporter Kate Snow continued. She's also unclear about when she first decided to come forward. Considering all these things, any worthwhile investigation journalist would never have gone ahead with this stupid interview the minute they discovered that her on camera story contradicted her written statement. The only right thing to do with it, at that point, was turn it over to the FBI and police for investigation into false allegation. NBC didn't do that. What we have come to when what have we come to when we allow contemptible liars to walk away scot-free after smearing an innocent man simply because the accuser has a sweet smile and XX chromosomes? Our ancestors did not have this problem. Instead, they threw the lying wretch out of a window, trampled her with horses, and then ate a hearty meal celebrating her demise. That's justice. That was the next chapter. I just love how Megan does not care about what anyone feels. If she got something to say, she'll say it. Uh, hello, Denise. Hello, Ginger with the soul. I actually do hate that word. What word? Helen T. 3:20 a.m. here. Can't sleep. Well, welcome. Jesse Watson. Advice in chat. Hello, hello. And General T. How are you doing? I agree there should be fun when being a Christian. Oh yeah. As a Christian myself, I believe that the spirit of Jezebel still exists. Interesting. I was not raised Christian, so all these names and words I am not familiar with. But that's an interesting comment. Potiphar's wife. Poor Joseph. This guy could not get a break. He went from being a favorite son with an awesome coat to a victim of human trafficking. Worse, his brother sold him to slavery and took his father he got eaten by and told his father he got eaten by animals. And you thought you had a dysfunctional family. While in slavery in Egypt, Joseph got an important assignment working for a wealthy and connected man named Potiphar. Potiphar was so impressed by Joseph that he gave him full reign over his house and all his affairs. But there was one problem. Potiphar's wife was a harpy whore from hell. In the book of Genesis, we learn that this Damon Heat tormented Joseph daily, begging him to have sex with her while her husband was away. Joseph put the Mike Pence rules into action way before Pence thought of them. He flat out refused her advances, and then decided to never be alone with her until one fateful day he had business in the house and didn't know she was waiting for him like a poisonous spider. Now, Joseph was handsome and good looking, and after a time his master's wife cast her eyes on Joseph and said, "Lie with me." But he refused and said to his master's wife, "Look, with me here, my master has no concern about anything in the house, and he has put everything that he has in my hand. He's not greater in this house than I am, nor has he kept back anything from me except yourself, because you are his wife. How then could I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" And although she spoke to Joseph day after day, he would not consent to lie beside her or be with her. One day, however, when he went into the house to do his work, and while no one else was in the house, she caught hold of his garment, saying, "Lie with me." But he left his garment in her hand, and fled and ran outside. When she saw that he had left his garment in her hand, and had fled outside, she called out to the members of her household, and said to them, "See, my husband has brought amongst us a Hebrew, who insult us. He came to me to lie with me, and I cried out with a loud voice. And when he heard me raise my voice and cry out, he left his garment beside me and fled outside. Then she kept his garment by her until his master came home, and she told him the same story, saying, "The Hebrew servant, whom you have brought amongst us, came in to me to insult me. But as soon as I raised my voice and cried out, he left his garment beside me and fled outside." One wonders if she used her scared little girl voice like Dr. Ford did when relaying her tall tale. Potiphar believed his floozy wife over Joseph and threw him into prison for attempted rape where he stayed for years. This story resonates for several reasons. English playwright and poet William Congreve famously wrote, "Heaven has no rage, like love to hatred turned, nor hell a fury, like a woman scorned." Throughout all of time, man has known, or learned very quickly, that rejecting a woman is a very dangerous endeavor. We will never know what conspired between Dr. Ford and Judge Kavanaugh, if anything. Upon listening to her testimony, it seems clear she knew who he was and was, at least preferably, around him at times. What seems most likely is that Kavanaugh, popular football player, never noticed her, despite her best efforts, and that may have been his only crime. In the eyes of a sullen teenage girl, this rejection could have morphed into a toxic stew of hatred and desire for revenge. If she saw him as responsible for making her feel rejected, unwanted, or uncool by his inattention, a mentally unstable person could turn that into assault. But by her own testimony, she admitted to being in therapy for several years. We did not learn about what mental conditions she's been diagnosed with or what medications, if any, she has been prescribed. For all we know, she could be bona fide psychopath. Dr. Ford's version of events, that she was assaulted at a party by Brett Kavanaugh, was uncorroborated by her own witness, including her best friend who had no recollection of being at any such party with Kavanaugh or Judge. My best friend and I met in high school too. The two of us could corroborate our whereabouts at every memorable party that we attended. One doesn't just forget about parties where your best friend was assaulted. It's far more likely that the party never happened. The problem with women who feel wronged to the extent that Potiphar's wife and Dr. Ford did is that they will say anything and do anything to get back at the cause of their distress. Dr. Ford's testimony read like a diary of a teenage stalker. At one point, she talked about seeing Kavanaugh's friend, Mark Judge, at a local Safeway, and that he was extremely uncomfortable at seeing her. If that did happen, it is possible Judge was uncomfortable around her because she was a socially awkward girl who kept trying to hang out with him and his friends. The answer is yes. It's completely possible that Dr. Ford made up a scenario in her mind that never happened because the truth is too embarrassing. But we can't know because we have no time machine, and the press is doing their best to keep Ford's life a total mystery. We know everything there is to know about Brett Kavanaugh, including what was on his ninth grade calendar, what his inside jokes with his friends were, his friends' nicknames, and fart jokes, but we know nothing about what kind of girl Dr. Ford was. Unlike Potiphar's wife, who was smart enough to grab some evidence that made her story at least plausible, Ford had nothing. Not even the testimony of her best friend, who she claimed was there. Note to future bearers of false witness: make sure you get at least one piece of worthwhile evidence in your quest to destroy a good man, because without it, there's little hope for getting away with it. Potiphar's wife succeeded in ruining Joseph for a while, but she did not stop him from rising to one of the highest positions in Egypt eventually. Pharaoh said to his servants, "Can we find anyone else like this, one in whom is the Spirit of God?" So Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has shown you all this, there is no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be over my house, and all my people shall order themselves as you command. Only with regard to the throne will I be greater than you." And Pharaoh said to Joseph, "See, I have set you over all the land of Egypt." Removing his signet ring from his hand, Pharaoh put it on Joseph's hand. He arrayed him in garments of fine linen, and put a gold chain around his neck. He had him ride in the chariot of his second in command, and they cried out in front of him, "Bow the knee." Thus he set him over all the land of Egypt. Moreover, Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I am Pharaoh, and without your consent no one shall lift up their hand or foot in all the land of Egypt." Pharaoh gave Joseph the name Zephen- Zephanath Paneah, and he gave him Asenath, daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, as his wife. Thus Joseph gained authority over the land of Egypt. It's fitting that Brett Kavanaugh has also been elevated to one of the most powerful positions in our land after suffering the false accusation of a vengeful woman. I refuse to call uncorroborated allegation credible, like some kind of GOP weak spine talking head suffering from Tourette syndrome. It was preposterous how fast even the conservative press raced forward to declare Ford credible. The word credible was so overused it became comical. Uncorroborated allegations are by definition not credible in the least and should be considered untrue until proven otherwise by solid evidence. And that were three more chapters of Believe Evidence, the death of due process from Salome to hashtag MeToo by Megan Fox the writer and forwarded by Deplora Blue. Deplora Bool, sorry. Oh, that's all I had planned today. Let's see. Hello, all. At a company dinner, hope you're doing excellently. I'm doing great, General T, thank you. Hope you're enjoying the company dinner. Oh, the P word, gotcha. Wouldn't you like to know? Hey, Connor, just dropped in to say hey. Hey, how are ya? Ginger with a soul, I think I know what word you're talking about. Yes, that one. Yeah, well, it was written, so I said it. You said the S word? The S word? I don't know what this S word is. Denise, Connor, since you weren't raised Christian, you can always read the Christian children's stories. The best Bible study I've been to was, and now The best Bible study I've been to was. And now the rest of the story told the adult story of kid stories. Wow, my brain shut down. But yeah, I mean, I could read Christian. Well, okay, Christian children's story. Gosney, Steve Gosney, his book counts as Christian children's book, right? Like his kids' book. So I am reading those. When I get the um My Difficult Dog, I'll read that as well. I fell asleep. Well, good morning, Mary Jane. Good morning. Well, good evening, Dina. How are you? So many people met in high school. I was a loner. Angie, coming in at the very end again. Story time. Well, story time just ended. I read 3 chapters I planned. Um, but Vias, when you're reading the book I recommended, what book did you recommend? Tell me again. I'll write it down so I can remember. Susan, how are you? Oh, you're gonna get so sick of me talking about prepare. Oh, go for it. I don't care how many times people talk about things that they like. I'm half Greek. Do I need to remind you? Yeah, I'm fine with you saying it. Yeah, it's obviously there are some words that I will not say, like because I'm planning on reading H.P. Lovecraft as well. The Beaver Book. Oh, I remember. Maybe, but yeah, like I said, I love how in this book Megan Fox does not give two shits. She will say what she has to say. If you get offended, boo hoo, oh well. Deal with it is Megan's mindset in this book. And that's how she is too. Like, if she has her mind on something and she wants her point to get across, she will use whatever language she wants to and whatever she needs to get the point across. And this is a perfect example of how Megan expresses herself and how she talks when she's talking about something she's passionate about. Like, I'm honored that I met Megan Fox in real life, and she is freaking awesome. And yeah, like, if you want to learn about Megan's mannerism and like how how much of a deep dive she does into subjects that she loves, buy this book. It's pinned on the top of the chat. How many chapters are in the book? Let's see. So part one has one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Part two has one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Part three has two, and then conclusion, acknowledgement about the author, and notes. So that's what, 22, 23, 24, 25, including the conclusion, and 30 with from like the very beginning forward to the end notes. So it's a 195 pages. We finished Potiphar's wife, So we're at page 26 right now. Did you confusing left? Yes, it did. So we have Salome, Lady Macbeth, Abigail Williams, and Mayella Violet Ewell left for the part one. So next Saturday night, around this time, um, I will just finish up part one. So the week after that, we can begin part two, which has 14 chapters total. Hello, Rogue Mama. How are ya? But, yeah, if you don't want to hear me pronounce words horribly and mispronounce everything and whatever, yada yada yada, reading the same lines multiple times like I did, please go to the link at the top of the chat that's pinned. Get yourself a copy. Support our friend, dear old Megan Fox. And enjoy, I guess. That's all I can really say. But I don't know. I honestly I think this is the first um thank you, Rope Mama, for dropping that link again. First big book. It's a big book for me. It's a big book for me. First big book so far that I own, that I've started reading, that I actually want to finish. Not like, oh, I gotta finish it for you guys, my audience and my viewers. I want to finish it. That does not happen. I hate reading, I hate books, but myself, want to finish it, see what Megan has to say. I think it's because of the very forwardness on Megan's attitude in this book that really caught my attention. And I know I'm saying it over and over and over again. It's very interesting how she could find all these things since the beginning of written history of everything that has happened that is related to this issue, you know? So, yeah, that was my little ramble about it, even though I know I've repeated myself way too many times. I'm working in her other book. Huh. God, if you got of the anti reader, nice. Uh, what tattoos do you have on your hands? I just have this one. It's a death symbol. Hi Connor Love, hope all is well to you. You look amazing with your hat. I wanted to know I had you reading while I was cleaning the storage room. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Auntie, for listening to my reading and mini yap session. Okay, let's see. Shall we ah take a deep breath and slowly tune out and calm down by going to the beautiful goat stream. This will be my maybe my maybe last, depends on if I can sleep or not, final maybe not stream of Saturday. So, honor God bless and all others, we the planet wide. Yeah. Hello, Kiwi. I think it's been a little while since I saw you on live, but welcome. So, thank you everyone for tuning in to part two of live reading session of Believe Evidence. The death of due process from Salome to hashtag Me Too by Megan Fox, foreword by Deplora Bull. I hope you guys have a lovely morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Stay lovely, stay awesome. I love you guys as always, and I appreciate you. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Well, that's all for this stream, but it's been so sweet. Thanks for hanging with us. It's been a treat. We'll keep it warm, keep it real, take it slow. Catch you next time when the vibes are ready to flow. If you enjoyed the ride, give us a like, subscribe for the warmth. Come back whenever you like. Until then, take it easy. Don't rush, don't hurry. I'll be here waiting. No need to worry. Vice, baby, always by your side. Stay cozy, stay calm, let the good times ride. Peace for now, but we'll meet again. Take care, my friend. Until then.